everyone. You're warmly welcome to the SMS by Dressens channel, your fashion hub for learning how to cut out your basic and simple outfits without patterns, and also learning how to put them together in a very professional manner. Now, if you're new on this channel, kindly subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, and also hit the notification button so when new videos are uploaded, you get alerts. Today we are going to do some troubleshooting. We're going to learn about faults and remedies of the sewing machine. Now, the sewing machine, like any other gadget, is prone to present a few technical problems every now and then. These problems are usually general, and there are also minor problems, and it's not beyond you to be able to do the corrections and the repairs. With the basic and general knowledge of the engineering behind the sewing machine, you can be on your way to becoming a pro mechanic. Now, most machine problems would present either as tension problems, thread problems, or needle problems. Let's go do some troubleshooting. Come along. Now, the first specimen we have is loop stitches on the right side. This is the right side of the stitching, and this is the wrong side of the stitching. You can see that the wrong side is looking neater and correct, has picked the stitches correctly. You can't even see the yellow thread here, but when you go to the right side, the stitches doesn't look that well, and you can see the white thread showing in between. So when you have a problem like this, what it means is that the upper tension thread is too tight, so it needs to be loosened up a bit. So if you are sewing and you see your stitches presenting like this, it means the upper rail thread is too loose or is too tight, and you need to loosen it a bit. Now, this is our second specimen. This is the right side of the stitching, and this is the wrong side of the stitching. So in this case, loop stitches forming on the wrong side. Now, if you have loop stitches forming on the wrong side like this, then automatically it means there's a problem from the thread flowing from the bobbin and the bobbin case. So it's most likely that the tension on the bobbin case is too loose. So then you have to tighten it up a bit. So when you have a problem like this presenting underneath the stitch, this is the wrong side of the stitch, and as you can see, this is the right side. The right side looks perfect, but the wrong side, there's a problem with it. So when you have a problem with this, it means there's a problem with the too much thread flowing from the bobbin, and so you tighten that little tension on the bobbin case. Well, what we have here is pocket stitches. As you stitch, the stitches the fabric kind of gathers when you don't need gathering. This has to do with tension. There's too much tension on the thread, especially the upper thread. The tension could be from the lower thread or the upper thread, but usually it's from the upper thread. So if there's too much tension on the thread, it means you have to loosen the tension a bit from the tension disc. So anytime you have you have your project coming out like this whilst you are stitching, this effect is called puckering. And the usual thing to look out for, or the usual suspect, will be the tension. So you work out the tension. Now, this is a problem with missing stitches or missed stitches. You have a scenario where the machine stitches all right, but along the way it misses some of the stitches, and then it forms a loop at the end. So you can see that there are problems with the stitches. Obviously, there's something seriously wrong with the stitch. So with a problem like this, it could most probably be a needle problem. It would be a needle problem. You're either using the wrong size of needle for the fabric. Well, the needles come in various sizes and varieties. If you are working with a thick fabric, obviously the size of your needle should be big. The sizes range from 14, size 16, size 18. So if you are working with a thick fabric, you probably should be using either size 16 or size 18. Now, if you use a smaller size like size 14 for a thick fabric, your stitches is likely to be skipped. You'd have this issue of skipped stitches. So check your needle and then also check your thread. Now, if the stitches as if you are experiencing skipped stitches or missed stitches, apart from the needle problem, it could also be a thread problem. Usually what you're supposed to be doing is to have the same thread, fiber of thread for the upper thread and the lower thread. Don't use different textures. This thread is a bit thicker than this. So if you have a thicker thread underneath and you have a lighter thread on the upper tension, then it could cause problem. Threads also have a relation with the fabric. If you are using a thick fabric, go for a thread that is thick, that is a bit rough. And if you are using soft textured fabric, you go for fine textured thread like this. So check your thread, whether you're using the correct thread for the type of fabric you are using. Now what we have here is snagging of the fabric. It has a little puckering, and then it also has some pull on the threads in the fabric. This is because there's a problem with the needle. The needle is either blunt or the tip. Yes, usually the tip of the needle has a problem. So what you have to do is to just change the needle. The needle could be too thick for the fabric, so it puts pressure on the fabric when it enters it. So you change the needle to a smaller size, and then make sure the tip of the needle is smooth. There's no scratch or damage at the tip of the needle. So if you have a problem like this, it's obviously a needle problem. So you check your needle. Now this is the right side of the garment or the stitch. But when we turn it to the wrong side, hey, this is what we have. This is what we usually refer to as bed nesting. There's too much thread flowing from the upper thread. This is showing on the wrong side, but the thread is coming from the upper thread. What this means is that the upper thread was threaded wrongly. It missed a route. It means the upper thread did not pass through the tension disc. So anytime you're sewing and you pull the work out of the machine and you realize you have this bed nesting form of pool of thread under your work, it means your thread did not pass through the correct route, especially the tension disc, the tension plate. And so for you to really understand how the tension works, please refer to my video on sewing machine and net parts. It will give you the understanding or the engineering behind the tension and all the other parts of the machine. Okay, so welcome back. We did a few presentation of the usual problems we are bound to encounter whilst we are sewing and what we could possibly do to correct it. A few of the problems I couldn't really do specimens about it. A problem like the fabric not moving under the presser foot could be that the stitch regulator has been set wrongly. So you check the regulator, open up the stitches a bit so the fabric can move freely. So basically, and then another needle problem is if the needle is not, the stitches is not interlocking, it's not picking the lower thread through the fabric, so it's not even forming a stitch at all. It could also be the wrong size of needle, or the wrong texture of thread. These things may look like minute problems or wrong size of needle, but it could also cause you a lot of problem. And so to get the correct understanding of the engineering behind the sewing machine, I'll kindly recommend watching my video on the sewing machine and its parts and functions. Once you watch that video, you have a very good understanding of how the sewing machine functions, and it will be very easy for you to fix your faults and remedies. Sewing machines don't get spoiled that easily, so if it's totally spoiled, then it means it's a major problem. So if you can deal with these little problems, hey, you're on your way to becoming a professional mechanic. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it's been educative. Hoping to see you in the next video soon. Bye.